Ladies and gentlemen, it's game day, and it's time to get a W, a must-needed W. Some would say a must-win. Welcome to the AZ Wildcats pregame show live from Studio K, presented by Circle K, and that was pretty late live for our friends at Studio K. I apologize for that one. Maybe I redo it. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K, and it is, of course, game day. As I said, I am Damon Farrell, and I am coming to you live from PHNX HQ 3 on this fine Saturday morning with my guy, Justin Spears, who is filling in for Kevin Thomas and has been doing so all week, and we appreciate him for doing so. But Justin, the Arizona Wildcats have a big one on the horizon this morning, I guess, afternoon. I don't really know what to call it when it's at noon in particular, but the Oklahoma State Cowboys are not good. They are the last place team in the Big 12, and Arizona needs to get this W.
Yeah, this is the perfect opportunity for Arizona to feel good about themselves, right? They went out to Ames, Iowa, got humbled a little bit by guys who are considered the cream of the crop of the Big 12, a team that's going to be in the Big 12 championship game, maybe when it comes to Iowa State. Iowa State, they're really banged up right now, so it should be interesting to see how the Cyclones look moving forward, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But Arizona, they got humbled. Now, the thing that's different this year than last year is that Arizona, they were humbled, but they're not going to hang their heads, and they're not going to allow this to snowball, at least so we think, right? Brent Brennan and the players, they've talked about the red line where, they give the effort and they try to execute, and if they don't execute properly, then you take accountability. And we're going to see just how much accountability that this team is taking going up against an interesting Oklahoma State team. Like, they're in free fall mode right now, and this is a program, that's dealing with a coaching transition with Mike Gundy being let go after, 20-plus seasons at the helm and, being the face of that program for so long. And then now they're being led by Doug Meacham, their offensive coordinator and interim head coach, and he's pretty much just told these guys to play free. Have fun out there, play free, because, what do you have to play for this season? And so that worries me for Arizona. And you're going to see this Oklahoma State team that's going to pull out all the stops, that's going to pull out all the tricks. Oklahoma State has nothing to lose in this game. Meanwhile, the Arizona Wildcats, you feel like they have a lot to lose. And if they lose this game, or if they allow Oklahoma State to be competitive, then maybe that's going to be a little problematic or worrisome for Arizona fans. So, yeah, I agree with you, Damon, during your show intro. I think that this is a must-win game for Arizona. But you know what? You're going up against the worst team in the Big 12 on both sides of the ball. Offensively, defensively, this is as worse as it gets when it comes to Power 4 football. So Arizona couldn't have asked for a better opponent in the conference to get right than the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Yeah, it does feel like kind of a tune-up game before you get into some of the most pivotal matchups of the entire season, whether it's BYU, Cincinnati, Colorado, Kansas. All of those games are pivotal, I would say, to the Arizona Wildcats and how far they can go this season from a ceiling perspective, because really, those are the teams that are similar caliber when you look, if you're stacking up the conference, if you were to do a power rankings to Arizona. So they can really make some moves in terms of getting up towards the top of this conference by separating themselves. But it all starts with getting the job done versus Oklahoma State to start. And you mentioned that they're the worst offensive and defensive team. Watch out for trick plays. Watch out for fake punts, fake kicks. I think that all of that is definitely stuff that Craig Naivar is going to have to be on the lookout for, especially after last week's swinging gate situation that caught Arizona off guard. So be on the lookout for all of that. But Todd Grantham, Oklahoma State's defensive coordinator was let go just last week after a disastrous game versus Baylor in which they gave up 612 yards and 45 points to the Bears. Could have been a lot worse of a scoreline, honestly, and it still was pretty bad. They lost by, I'm looking at 18 points here, I believe. So,
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, probably their best showing of the year, frankly, outside of their win against lowly competition. But it was probably their best showing of the year, and it still ended up in an 18-point loss.
Yeah, right now, as far as Power 4 opponents or FBS opponents, I should say, Oklahoma State's riding a 12-game losing streak right now. Really, the only win during that span was UT Martin at the start of the season. But like you said, they looked improved against Baylor. And, they threw out some interesting looks. They put Samuel Jackson the fifth, and he's a wide receiver. Very interesting career. He's from Chicago and then was recruited to go play at TCU, and then played at TCU for a couple of years, and then played at Auburn, and then played at Cal, and is now finishing his last season at Oklahoma State. But he is a wide receiver. However, he does have experience playing quarterback. And so Doug Meacham recognized that, and last game they put him in at quarterback. And he's actually, it's not like a situation where, okay, you got the super athletic guy in the backfield and it's considered Wildcat. Well, no, Wildcat, more often than not, the quarterback is taking it and running it. It's just the athlete taking the snap, lined up at quarterback, and then running with the football. This guy, Samuel Jackson, is actually throwing the football. And it's so funny. I hear the name Samuel Jackson. I think of the actor, of course, but I can't help but think about the Chappelle skit with instead of the Sam Adams beer, it's the Sam Jackson. And then Dave Chappelle plays Samuel Jackson. But no, they put Sam Jackson back there. And last game against Baylor went 3 for 4 passing and also had a passing touchdown as well. So look out for that wrinkle. That's certainly something that Doug Meacham is going to try to throw out there. And, like I said earlier, this is a team that, they don't really have much to play for. And for a lot of these guys, it could be their last season playing college football. And it could also be an opportunity for them to put something on film for when they go into the transfer portal. Because, the transfer portal is open right now. After Mike Gundy was let go, that opened up a 30-day transfer portal window. And that's the same with the other teams that let go of their coaches, like UCLA, Arkansas, Virginia Tech. And I think right around 10 players from Oklahoma State have already entered the transfer portal, including a long snapper, including their starting safety, Dylan Smith. They've had a couple of safeties enter the transfer portal. And so I think this is a perfect opportunity for Arizona quarterback Noah Fifita and, his gadgets in that offense, guys like Chris Hunter and Chris Hudson and some of these other wide receivers to really get going and develop that chemistry and that confidence going into a big game against BYU. Because, BYU, kind of like Iowa State, you can't really make a lot of mistakes against this team. Like, they will make you pay for it. But, you beat Oklahoma State and then you go into that game 4-1, you're feeling pretty good about the rest of the season. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how Saturday's going to go. And I'm also curious to feel the heat, man. Like, I wrote about this for Tucson.com that Arizona football might be the hottest ticket in town, literally, because, like, if we're talking about the 24-hour span, like, if you're a Tucson sports fan and you want to have, like, the 24 hours of just Tucson sports, well, you can attend the Red-Blue game or the Red-Blue showcase at McKell Center. And then the following day, you can go to Arizona, Oklahoma State at noon, which is supposed to be just under 90 degrees at kickoff. And it's the earliest kickoff for Arizona in a season since 2016, when Khalil Tate made his first ever start as a Wildcat when they went up against Sam Darnold and USC, and the Trojans just absolutely took it to the Wildcats. So, yeah, it's going to be really hot. On-field temperatures are probably going to exceed 100 degrees. And then, if you're, looking to round out your Saturday, you can go pop on over to Keno Stadium and go watch the Mexican Baseball Fiesta Home Run Derby. And you can also watch the Tucson baseball team take on the Mexicali team as well. So you could really have a great 24 hours of consuming sports in Tucson, Arizona. But as far as weather goes, it's going to be hot over there at Arizona Stadium, but also like not really hot too, because it's like
Not
kickoff is
for
going to be
us.
what, 89 degrees.
Yeah.
Like that's small potatoes for us.
Yeah, maybe hot for those Okies coming down from
For sure.
the Midwest.
Oh, it's definitely hot for those guys. Yeah, but as far as us, like, and we were at a training camp as well, and spring ball, like we braved those harsh sunny days at Arizona football practice. So yeah, that what we're going to experience Saturday afternoon is nothing compared to what we experienced leading up to the season. But yeah, the weather should be great. I always love day games at Arizona Stadium. I don't know, just something special about the sun and playing in Tucson, Arizona, and of course Arizona. They're like, hey, we're not going to wear our color jerseys. We're not going to wear our navy blue jerseys. We're going to go white. We're going to rock the off-white eggshell sandstorm jerseys, and we're going to have Oklahoma State wear the color jerseys, and they can deal with the heat. But, yeah, it should be a fun one on Saturday. I can't wait.
Yeah, a lot of new jerseys in store for the Arizona Wildcats, those sandstorm off-white color, like you said, Justin. It's going to be cool to see those out on the field here in just a few minutes. But you talked about getting this passing game on the right track, and one of those pass-catching options is Trey Spivey for the Arizona Wildcats. Take a peek here at the most recent availability report. Trey Spivey still listed as questionable, as we noted on Thursday's show, Justin. Michael Dansby, I believe, has been added here as questionable, a starting corner or at least a rotation corner for this Arizona defensive back room. Jeremiah Patterson has been added to the out designation, Arizona punt returner, and a little bit less so wide receiver, but hasn't seen as much run there recently. Kind of what happened with the Jeremiah Patterson situation, and what do we expect out of Trey Spivey and Michael Dansby, Justin?
Yeah, that was a little surprising considering we talked to Michael Dansby earlier in the week. So I don't know what that business is. I'm not going to sit here and speculate. Same with Trey Spivey. Like, I didn't see anything from the game that really made me concerned about their health. So we'll see what happens with those guys. It wouldn't surprise me if they end up suiting up for the Wildcats when it's all said and done, coming up here in just a little bit. But as far as Jeremiah Patterson, I didn't see anything from the game, so I'm not sure what happened. But this means that Arizona is going to have a new punt returner. And I thought Jeremiah Patterson in the early parts of the season, he had a couple nice punt returns. Certainly in that game against Hawaii, looked like a really improved punt returner and showed a lot of promise there. But then last week against Iowa State, had a couple of fair catches inside the 10-yard line, which is something that you're really taught not to do. And so Brent Brennan actually said that, that was something that Arizona addressed, and they're going to coach that up. So, I'm curious to see who's going to be catching punts this upcoming game against Oklahoma State. Maybe we'll see Chris Hudson, the transfer receiver from Washington State. We saw him get some run at punt return. Maybe a guy like Luke Wysong, the transfer from New Mexico. And he's still trying to find the end zone. Still really trying to find that big game. Like, I feel like, all the receivers have kind of had their moments this season. And, we're still kind of waiting on that moment for Luke Wysong and also a little bit of Chris Hunter as well. But
yeah, definitely. And funny enough, Luke Wysong is second in receiving yards, I believe, right now, despite not really having that big game. But he has been a little bit more consistent, I'd say, giving you like 2 catches, 3 catches a game.
Yeah, and he's a rock solid player, and he's a guy that can get it done everywhere. And he might actually play in the NFL just because of like his willingness to compete at every single spot on the field on all the special teams units. Kind of reminds me a little bit, as not like height wise or body frame wise, but kind of like the same work ethic and the same kind of player as Brendan Schooler.
Oh yeah,
who ended up becoming a Pro Bowler for the New England Patriots as a special teams guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to play at the U of A with his brother Colin Schooler, but
was he going to play safety, Justin? I'm still not clear on that.
I think he was actually going to play receiver.
I know. I remember. I was this little inside baseball here. I was in a Eugene hotel, which is where the team stays because I was working for the team at the time, and I was a video coordinator, and I traveled out for that game. And while Brendan Schooler was not yet with Arizona, he was talking to Noel Mazzoni and Kevin Sumlin in the hotel lobby, being like, I remember the Mr. Schooler was like, "Is he gonna play safety or receiver? That's the only thing we want to know." And they were like laughing about it. Ah ha ha ha. But yeah, that was one of the Schooler family, Tony Fields, Scotty Young, like all those guys that left that 2020 team. And we got to win 0 games in the process. Fun.
Those are some dudes, man.
They were
And
pretty
and
good.
and that part of me feels bad for Kevin Sumlin
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, come on, man. A global pandemic like forced all these guys to enter the
Well, and the
portal and leave.
Pac-12 kind of screwed their own teams by being the last conference to get up and running, right? So
Yeah,
every single good player on Arizona's roster was out the door. And then we lose
yeah.
70-7 to ASU because they're paying their entire roster to stay in Tempe. And there you have what you have. But yeah, that's getting back to this game, Justin. We got those are more notable injuries on the Arizona side. On the Oklahoma State side, I know that they had a couple guys on here. Obviously, House Henney. I don't know if I said that correctly, but he was their starting quarterback no
Yeah.
longer. Josh Ford is a tight end for them. One of the most insane people I've ever seen in real life, Justin, as we saw him at Big 12 Media Day. The most Oklahoma-looking individual probably of all time, 6'6", 270 at tight end, basically an extra O-lineman. He won't be playing. And then Freddie Brock, running back, who's in the rotation there, is probable to play for the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys are banged up, not only injury wise, but guys also entering the transfer portal too. So this is a team. I mean, even if they were fully loaded, Arizona should win by a couple of touchdowns. But now we're talking about several key players being out. This is a very vulnerable team for the Arizona Wildcats. So how are you going to look? And I think if this offense, and listen, the game against Iowa State, it was so weird because Arizona kind of dominated on both sides of the line. Like offensive line didn't really give up a ton of pressure on Noah Fifita. Defensive line, I mean, Iowa State only had 2.4 yards per carry. So, like, if you really look at the offensive line and defensive line, I mean, that's really where the games are won, right? Well, Arizona won the trench battle, but the thing that screwed Arizona was they couldn't really make the big play on offense, and they also turned over the ball 4 times. They're considering turnover on downs as a turnover. So they had 2 turnover on downs and 2 interceptions, right? So that's 4 turnovers. And then defensively, they gave up 6 passing plays for 189 yards. They gave up a ton of really big passing plays. And, they also struggled on 3rd down too, which is kind of Iowa State's bread and butter. So, yeah, this is, like I said, this is the game where Arizona should develop their confidence, and they should go out and really smack around Oklahoma State. And if not, there's some serious problems.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And as you said, like Oklahoma State's going to be loose. They're going to be playing free, and they got nothing to lose, right? They're trying to put on good tape for maybe their next team or prove why they belong at Oklahoma State next season. But ultimately, a team like that is also vulnerable, and a team like that is also, privy to quitting once the game gets a little bit away from them. Like you won't be seeing that team make a comeback. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
Arizona, the key for Arizona, from my perspective, is getting out to an early lead and just establishing that lead that this game is not going to be a game from essentially the first quarter on. I think it's going to be really important for the Cats to start hot and start early. So, going to have to do that with the offense and getting the ball in the end zone, which I don't think that we've necessarily seen all that great of opening drives from this team this season. Listen, Kansas State, Iowa State, like you move the ball a little bit, but you got to end in points, right? So,
Yeah.
hopefully Arizona can punch it into the end zone early on and really establish a lead early. But another way they're going to have to do so is by establishing a ground game, Justin, and just how important is running the football going to be in this one?
Yeah, this is going to be big time. And Ismail Mahdi, I think, has really reaped the benefits of Arizona's running back room being so banged up.
Yeah.
because Ismail Mahdi is a top 5 rusher in the conference right now. And remember, after the Hawaii game, we were like, why isn't this guy featured more? Why didn't he get a ton of touches? And then all of a sudden now he's a top 5 rusher in the Big 12. And a big part of that is because Quincy Craig has been, slightly banged up, and Kedrick Reesino is dealing with that leg injury where he missed the last couple of games. So it has opened up the opportunity for Ismail Mahdi, who apparently goes by Izzy, and it opened up the door for Izzy to get a bunch of carries, and he looks great. I would like to see him get involved in the passing game more. Not maybe some check downs, maybe some screen passes, because
Yeah, he looks good.
he looks really good whenever he gets the ball in his hands. And the reason why I like him so much is like he knows when to hit that extra boost and get to that fifth gear and use his speed. But when he needs to just kind of put his nose down, he's like, okay, let me just get a few extra yards. Let me just put my nose down, put my shoulder through this guy, and get 3 yards and then live to see another down.
Yeah.
Like, he is a very, very tough running back, and he can do really a little bit of everything. And I would just like to see him, because he kind of reminds me a little bit of like maybe you guys mentioned this, or maybe I heard it from Kyle Quinn, the former Arizona offensive lineman, who actually, coincidentally enough, made his first ever career start against Oklahoma State in the Alamo Bowl. But Kyle Quinn compared Ismail Mahdi to like a bigger J.J. Taylor. And it's kind of interesting because it's like, yeah, they both were number 1, both like similar players, but Ismail Mahdi is just a little bit bigger than J.J. Taylor. He's awesome, man. And I think, he's going to continue to develop. And I would like to see him really used as like a Michael Wiley type of role from a couple of years ago, where, Wiley was more known really for being a pass catching running back. I mean, people were saying that this guy was the best pass catching running back since Vance Johnson, right? So, which is, I mean, some pretty high praise for Michael Wiley. Ismail Mahdi, I feel like, has a similar skill set. So, as much as getting the ground game is important, it'd be nice to see him get going in the passing game and get some yards after catch on some short passes and some screens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be something to watch out for sure. And you're right. Like, when he gets, the opportunities in the passing game, he looks like he's catching the ball like a receiver, and the yards after catch speaks for itself. But I'd like to see a little bit more of a 1-2 combo with him and Kedrick Reesino this week. Hopefully, who can see himself get some carries and get his feet wet going into a massive big BYU game. But hopefully Arizona gets out to an early lead in this one. I think that's going to be a key to this game, and just kind of leave no doubt, step on a team's throat that you're better than, and go out there and prepare for next week. So, score predictions before we get out of here. I got my guy Kevin Thomas's score prediction. He's going with 48-13 Arizona Wildcats in this one, covering the spread and getting the job done by 35-point margin there. I'm a little bit more conservative. Shocker. No one saw that one coming. I'm going to go 38-20. I think the Arizona Wildcats just barely don't cover and win by 18 points. Maybe Oklahoma State with a backdoor score there to make that one a little bit closer and ruin everybody who bet on the Wildcats' slips.
Man, so, of course, Kevin, when Rob Gronkowski is in town, picks them to score 48 points, the number that he wore in college. What was the Rob Gronkowski's alter ego? Rocky Gronkstone?
Gronkstone, yeah.
Yeah, Rocky Gronkstone during the Red Blue Showcase, which was awesome.
Can Rocky Gronkstone play football? Because we have a little bit of a tight end injury situation, and I don't know. I don't know if he's good at tight end or not, but I'm just getting prototypical tight end size from that guy. I don't know.
I think he could play the position, honestly. I mean, shoot, did you see the way he was aggressive getting those rebounds? I mean, he got ejected, right? Because he was being a little too aggressive. So, yeah, honestly, put some pads on that guy. Get him out there playing football. But, they call that an Antonio Gates is more, the popular definition or term for that, making that transition from basketball to football. But around these parts in Tucson, Arizona, we call that the Fendi on a bun.
Yes.
going from the hardwood over to the gridiron and playing some football. But yeah, so as far as like the score goes, I'm going to go with the Fetty Wap score. I got Arizona beating Oklahoma State 38-17. I think the Wildcats will cover that 20.5-point spread. I just think that this is the get right game for Arizona, and they want to make sure that they don't leave any doubt there on the field. Like they're going to have probably their most crisp and most sound offensive performance of the season. It's going to be very balanced and probably the best offensive performance you'll see outside of the Weber State game where Noah Fifita threw for 5 touchdowns. And remember, in that first game, there were some missed throws and people were wondering, what's going on with the passing game and, the timing and all that. And Noah answers with 5 touchdowns. Now I get it. It's Weber State. I get it. I totally get it. It's totally different. But the worst team in the Big 12, a team that, averages, that gives up an average of 35 points per game. You're at home. You're in Tucson, Arizona. This is the perfect opportunity for Arizona to go out and put 40. It wouldn't surprise me if they put up 40, but I got them just under 40 points at 38-17.
Yeah, totally going to be a kind of a measuring stick game, not in terms of Iowa State, like where it was like, can this team compete at the top of the Big 12, but just in terms of, is this team separated from the true bottom? And so I think Arizona needs to go out there and make a statement. I'm asking for style points on in a few minutes here, but we will be live for post game, so make sure that you guys are here 10 to 15 minutes after the clock hits 0. Where me, Erica Day, and Cohen Kinney are going to be holding it down with no Kevin Thomas in town. And we'll be crushing it over there per usual on the AZ Wildcats postgame show. We appreciate Justin Spears for hopping on with us. Of course, you can follow Justin at Justin E Sports. Also, his great work at Tucson.com for the Arizona Daily Star, pumping out great articles, great written work over there, and Spears and Ali every weekday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. Justin, so gracious with your time this week. We appreciate you, brother. And we will be looking forward to getting your thoughts on hopefully Arizona's W later on next week. But in the meantime, I am Damon Farrell. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on all socials except for TikTok, where it's at AZ Wildcats Pod. Rate and review on your favorite podcasting platform. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate everybody for watching. We'll see you on the postgame show right after this one ends. Peace, bear down, and go Cats.
We all silly like the mayor.